The rain had been relentless that evening, casting a cold, heavy veil over the campus. Evelyn pulled her coat tighter, her fingers numb as she clutched a worn map of the university's forgotten wing. Beside her, Marcus adjusted his glasses, his eyes reflecting a mix of excitement and apprehension. "Are you sure about this?" he whispered. Lucas, always the skeptic, smirked. "Come on, where's your sense of adventure?" he teased. Alyssa remained silent, her gaze distant. She had her reasons for joining this expedition, reasons she hadn't shared with the others. The group stood before the rusted door of the abandoned annex, its ancient wood scarred by time. The legends they'd heard since freshman year lingered in the air like ghosts, stories of a boy who vanished, of shadows that moved on their own, of voices that whispered when no one was around. Inside, the atmosphere shifted immediately. The air was thick, tinged with the scent of mildew and something else, something sad and stale. Echoes of their footsteps seemed delayed, as if the building itself was waking from a long sleep. Peeling wallpaper revealed messages scratched into the plaster underneath. Evelyn ran her fingers over one such etching. "Find me." A shiver traced up her spine. Marcus unfolded the map, his hands shaking slightly. "The archives should be down this hall," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Lucas led the way, his bravado masking the unease that was starting to gnaw at him. Alyssa lingered at the back, her eyes scanning the dark corners where the light of their flashlights didn't reach. She felt a pull, an unspoken connection to this place. As they delved deeper, the building seemed to respond to their presence. Doors that had been closed were now ajar. Faint piano notes drifted through the corridors, though no instrument could be found. "Did you hear that?" Marcus stuttered. Lucas shrugged it off, but his clenched jaw betrayed him. Evelyn found a decrepit classroom, desks overturned and books strewn about. On one of the walls, drawings of a small boy holding a red balloon repeated over and over. The same boy, the same haunting eyes. Alyssa approached the chalkboard, where a name was written again and again. Thomas. Her breath caught. "We need to leave," she said abruptly. The others looked at her in surprise. "We're so close," protested Marcus. "Close to what?" she snapped. "We don't even know what we're looking for." Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from somewhere above them. Dust rained down as the building groaned. "That sounded like it came from the east wing," Lucas said. Against better judgment, they followed the sound. The corridor led them to a stairwell, its steps crumbling and treacherous. As they ascended, the temperature dropped. Their breaths formed clouds as they reached a door marked "Do Not Enter." Ignoring the warning, Lucas pushed it open. The room was a child's nursery, untouched by time. Toys from decades past lined the shelves, and in the center stood a small bed, its sheets neatly made. On the bed lay a teddy bear, one eye missing. Evelyn picked it up, and as she did, a child's laughter echoed around them, thin and ethereal. "Who's there?" Marcus called out, his voice cracking. The laughter turned to sobbing. The walls began to close in, the room shrinking. Panic set in. "We have to find him," Alyssa exclaimed, her eyes wild. "Find who?" Lucas yelled, trying to force the door open, but it wouldn't budge. "Thomas, he wants us to find him," she cried. Images flooded her mind. A boy, trapped, calling out for help as the building collapsed around him. She could feel his fear, his loneliness. "He's been here all this time," she whispered. Evelyn grabbed her shoulders. "How do you know this?" Tears streamed down Alyssa's face. "Because he's my brother." The revelation hung heavy in the air. "Your brother?" "But that was decades ago," Marcus said in disbelief. Alyssa nodded. My family doesn't age, not like others. It's a curse or maybe a gift. Thomas disappeared when I was just a child. I've been searching for him ever since. The room shook violently. Plaster fell from the ceiling as an unseen force tore the room apart. He thinks we abandoned him, Alyssa screamed over the chaos. We have to show him he's not alone. Without warning, the floor gave way, and they plunged into darkness. When they awoke, they found themselves in a dimly lit cavern beneath the building. In the center lay the skeletal remains of a child, clutching a red balloon now faded and deflated. Alyssa approached slowly, her heart breaking. Thomas, she whispered, kneeling beside him. She placed the teddy bear next to his bones. The air grew still. A soft glow enveloped the remains, and a spectral figure of a little boy appeared. He looked at Alyssa with wide eyes. "Sister?" he said softly. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I'm here now. I'm sorry it took so long." The boy smiled faintly before dissipating into light. The ground began to shake anew, but this time beams of sunlight pierced through the rubble above. The way out was clear. Helping each other, they climbed towards the surface. As they emerged, the heavy clouds parted, revealing a clear sky. The oppressive weight that had hung over the campus was lifted. Students milled about, unaware of the night's events. "Is it over?" Marcus asked. Alyssa gazed upward. For Thomas, yes. He can rest now. Evelyn put a comforting arm around her. "And you?" Alyssa took a deep breath. "Maybe now I can start living." Months later, at graduation, the friends stood together, diplomas in hand. The future was open to them in a way it hadn't been before. As they prepared to leave the university grounds, Alyssa paused. Turning back, she thought she saw a small figure waving goodbye, a boy with a red balloon. She smiled, a sense of peace washing over her. "Goodbye, Thomas," she whispered. The others followed her gaze, but saw nothing. "Ready to go?" Lucas asked. Alyssa nodded. "Yes," she replied with certainty. "It's time to move on."